All right, y'all. So this is particularly for me very interesting. Kind of took me for a turn. I never knew something like this, which you're getting ready to see, was even possible. But as this gentleman started to explain his situation a little bit more, it really became eye opening as to how many more people actually might be in this situation. So if you find yourself in this situation with anything that you're getting ready to hear this gentleman say, sit back, man. Take heed. Chew the meat, spit out the bones. But without further ado, let's get into this man, this heterosexual man who had to be delivered from homosexual acts and desires, even though he's not homosexual. Let's get into this.
Oh, probably a little over a month ago, I was fasting and I went through a deliverance and I got delivered from a spirit wife, had a spirit spouse attached to me, and a homosexual spirit. And now I've never been gay in my life. I've never been attracted to the same sex. I've never done anything with the same sex. So you're probably wondering, how did you have a homosexual spirit then? How did you know? And because God revealed it to me, and during the fast, He said, these are some things that you need to address. So I had to do some renouncing and some denouncing, and breaking covenants that I've made in the past. And like I said, I've never been attracted to any men. I've never done nothing with men. That's just not, it's never been my thing. It's never been a struggle of mine. But if I had to get this smoke, y'all gonna get this smoke because God had checked me. And I was in denial about it for a long time. I know some of y'all are gonna be like, yeah, that's BS, but hear me out. And I'm praying that you don't let your pride get in the way from you getting free. You finding liberty and getting set free from this thing. But God had told me, He was like, yeah, you need to target these things. You got this spirit spouse attached to you. You got this homosexual thing attached to you. I'm like, how I got a homosexual spirit attached to me, God? Because that ain't even my thing. And he said, my man said something a long time ago, back in probably like 2010, maybe 2011, in a Bible study, and we rejected it. And even though God had affirmed it, what my man had said, I still rejected it. But at the Bible study, my man had came out. He was saying God convicted him about oral checks. My bad, oral checks with his wife, and we like the marriage bed is undefiled. This what homie saying in a Bible study and everything, but that's not what that means. It means the marriage bed is to be undefiled. But he was saying God had revealed to him that he needed to stop. Like this not right. This is ungodly. And we's like, if you're doing it with the opposite sex, it's not gay. And God was like, it's wrong. And so I challenged it. Now, personally, I'm 36 years old at that time. I've never performed oral checks on anybody. To this day, I've never performed oral checks, but I sure did like to receive it, just like many people. And so I was like, I don't know. I can't get with you on that. If it's with the opposite sex, then I don't see how that could be, I don't see how that could be wrong. And God hit me up with it ASAP. Probably like not even a day or 2 days later, I was in my word and He took me to Romans. And I'm gonna read it. And prayerfully this makes sense to y'all. I hope y'all get this revelation too. It's in Romans 1. I'm gonna start at 26. It says, For this cause God gave them up to vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the women, burning their lust one towards another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving themselves the recompense of their error which was meet. And so God had to show me, said, man, this thing happens in progression. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, read it, happened in progression. They left the natural use of the women. They said, and he was telling me, he said, I made the male organ to go into the female organ. I didn't make the male organ to go into areas that both male and female have. He said, I made it for this specific reason. This organ was not meant to go in the mouth, and it was not meant to go between the cheeks. And
Now, I didn't give you a disclaimer in the beginning before we keep this going, but a disclaimer, and you should know this by now, mature audience only. And that goes for any a video that I ever post. But before anyone gets triggered and pushed off from this, for the second point I want to make, listen to what he's saying and listen to why. Because even he was a gentleman who, when that was presented to him, as you heard, he wasn't 100% on it. He wasn't 100% in agreement to it. but listen to exactly why in deep understanding as to why that's not okay. And furthermore, another point to put out to make it seem, or to really prove it to you as to why it's not okay, is because all those acts that he's pretty much saying had to be removed and that God is showing him that we should not be doing, heterosexual and especially not homosexual, but for the heterosexual community too, all of that stuff is promoted in the industry, in the music industry right now. You hear women talking about men doing that and what they want men to do in those areas and all that, and people are singing and chanting these things out. And typically anything that's promoted heavily in the music industry, in the music that people are listening to, in the secular realm, I choose typically not to indulge in such things. But let's keep this going so you can hear exactly why these things, although some of you may have been participating in them in quite some time, for quite some time, and you may be enjoying them, listen to why it may be something you want to start practicing removing from your daily schedule, if you will. Let's keep this going.
I was like, oh snap. And I'm like, hold up, God, because it's still, it's still opposite sex. He was like, look up what sodomy means. And I looked up what sodomy meant, and it means anal and oral copulation. It don't even have to be with the same sex. And I was like, oh snap, hit me upside the head with it. But like I said, back then I was still young in my walk, and I still wanted to do what I wanted to do. I enjoyed the oral checks, so I kept doing it. And so during this fast, God was like, I need you to address these things. And I was like, well, hold up, God, I ain't homosexual. He's like, well, the act that you was doing, whether it was with the opposite sex or not, the act that you was doing brings on that spirit. So I was like, oh man. And so during that fast, I had to humble myself. It feels crazy even praying like, God, forgive me for my acts of homosexuality, even when I've never done anything homosexual, like in man's eyes. It's humbling to even say that and to even fast and to come out of my mouth and be like, man, I renounce every act of homosexuality. I renounce and I denounce every act of oral and anal copulation that I've engaged in. Like, that's humbling to just say out your mouth, even when nobody's around. I'm just like, man, but God is like, this is how you're going to get free from these things. And I end up getting delivered from it. And that thing and that spirit spouse. And I can't tell you how much in the spirit, like, something broke. And I want to go into like great detail about it, right? But I'm going to say this. I understand now when people say, you can't help who you love, right? I never believed that. But now I understand when people say you can't help who you love. I get it now. Because when I got delivered from that spirit spouse, something shifted. Like, it was a whole demon. It was a whole spirit that was influencing what I liked. Like, why did I love getting oral copulation so much? Like, why did I love this person so much? It was a woman, but I was like, why was I so infatuated with being with this person? And then as soon as that thing broke off, like, all of that left. I can't even explain it, but all of it left, and I couldn't do nothing but praise God. And even still, I would look at pictures of this person and it would amaze me how much, like, I'm just not there anymore in an instant. Like, when it left, when I got delivered from it, in that instant, those desires immediately shift. And so I get it. And so I know some people are going to see this and they're going to say, no, I've been homosexual all my life, or I've been this all my life. I liked women all my life. You don't know, that spirit might have been passed down through generation. You never know. You don't know how it came in. It could have came in through molestation, through SA, whatever. But you don't even realize there is something influencing you deep down inside, and it doesn't feel like it because it feels like it's you that likes this individual or likes this same sex or whatever. But I'm telling you, I realized when I went through that deliverance, because I was in denial. Like, I thought this person is who I'm supposed to be with. This woman is who I'm supposed to be with. But that spirit spouse and that homosexual spirit had me attached to them. and had me attached to an idea of them. And I literally thought it was me, like, this is who I'm supposed to be with. This is who I love. And when God was like, I need you to address these things. And when I got delivered from those things, I can't even explain how everything just shifted. And nothing changed about that person. That person is still a great person, still who they are. But because of my past, like I got tied to her through a what you call it, trauma bond. That spirit, when that spirit got attached to me from my ex a long time ago, where I went through a battle with Jezebel and everything, and those spirits came with it. When I was getting over my ex, I had a trauma bond with this young lady, and it made that spirit spouse made me just grow so much of an affection for her. Like, and I couldn't understand why. And until I got delivered from this thing, and God was telling me and during that fast, He said, address these two things and watch what I do. And I had to humble myself and address those things. So I'm telling you, if you find yourself loving anal checks and oral checks, I'm telling you, there's a homosexual spirit behind it. You need to fast. You need to pray. You need to seek deliverance from that thing, and watch how God works.
There you have it, man. And I know in a time like today, especially because like I said, people, there's always a new age, there's always something new coming out, there's always something different happening. And in a time like today, I know that's something that a lot of people don't want to hear. It's something that a lot of people aren't down to change and a lot of people aren't down to give up. But the proof is in the pudding, man. You know what I mean? It's there. It's protection for you as well in the spirit realm. There's just certain things that I know the world will say, it's fine, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with it. It's simple. It's your partner. That's your spouse. Or it's not even homosexual because you guys aren't the same. There's always a justification for something to make what's wrong sound good. But the proof is in the pudding, y'all. Like I said in the beginning, chew the meat, spit out the bones. If you're willing to take heed to it, take heed to it, man. If not, encourage you to do some more research, dive in, ask God to make it clear for you, just like He made it clear for this gentleman. But that's all I got for you guys on this one, man. Stay careful out there, stay protected, and stay connected to God. To the next one, I'm out.